Yeah, maybe it's worth having the speakers.
Was the
I don't
fly
have to,
swatter?
You're close. Did I get it?
I think,
You stunned him. You stunned him.
Oh,
no, that's not it.
He'll come back to
I
life.
think I got him. I think I wounded him.
But he has friends.
Tell your friends.
Got him.
Yeah.
All right, cue music. Checking. We're back with another episode of Magnolia House podcast.
Podcast.
This is another episode.
Great
of
intro, Alex.
This is another episode of Magnolia House. I'm really bad at intros. I'm Alex, Fleur, Alex, whatever.
Soon to be something else.
With Tony as usual, and today we're with Steve Holler.
And which camera do I look
You can look at whatever camera you want to
Your
look
camera's
at.
up there.
Well, Steve is here visiting me and my partner and our little one from Virginia.
Who you can
from
hear in the
Charlottesville,
background.
Virginia. You can probably hear Ira as we do this episode, which is great. But yes, Steve is initially from New York, born in New York, Staten Island, right?
Yes.
And lived in New York for over 30 years.
Yes, but I had a 4-year sojourn to Massachusetts, Lynn, Mass. My father was transferred with his job. He was a baker with the A&P, but he was so good at his job that the management wanted him to set up, have like a little tutorial at their headquarters in Massachusetts.
Gotcha. So this is when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, when I was 14 years.
Oh, okay.
So for 4 years, and so my home teams are the Red Sox and the Bruins. I'm a passionate fans.
That makes more sense because I thought it was a straight, just like you hate the Yankees or that.
Okay, that was my last one.
There's some sound effects here. In the back.
I thought it was just that like you wanted to be what do they call somebody who just is always antagonistic toward
Groupies.
folks around them? You know, like you just like to because you're from New York.
Oh, maybe just manufacture stories.
I thought you hated because isn't it the rivalries Red Sox and Yankees, right?
Oh, I hate the Yankees.
But you're from New York, which is funny.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, my father's from the Bronx, and he was a diehard Yankee fan. But you know, the old time Yankee fans, Yankees, Mickey Mantle,
Gotcha.
Tom Treasure, those guys.
And now they're just a terrible team, right?
Well, they are the evil empire.
Aren't they just the team that buys all the good players?
Yes,
that
and
they're really
the
good?
Red Sox can be.
Isn't that what you do?
That's what you do when you have money.
And the Red Sox are following suit, but in a different way.
Well, also I feel like teams you probably know more because you're into baseball, and Tony and I aren't really big sports people, but like I feel like the nice hometown thing to do is like get somebody when they're a rookie, right? And then like they mature,
Juice them up.
and then they become the star of your team. Like Ichiro was for the Mariners. But like I feel like even like Alex Rodriguez or I don't know who else the Yankees bought from Seattle, but just like the people get really good and then the Yankees buy their contracts out. And
Do you think that was like
I know nothing about sports.
how they build A-Rod? That's like get good enough, and you too could one day date Jennifer Lopez.
That's part of the contract.
I think they've since split up.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
really?
Now she's back with Ben Affleck.
Crazy.
You haven't heard about that?
No, I do not.
People are going
the
wild.
tabloid stuff. I do not.
What are they called?
Benifer.
Benifer. Yeah.
That was one of the original.
Benifer's back together.
One of the original
Washing of the names.
Yeah,
I don't know.
couple name things.
But
I don't know how people are so into that, and they know like all the drama of like movie stars and stuff.
Yeah, I saw this one thing that said,
keep up.
My serotonin boost has worn off with a Benifer. Now I need to see Jen and Brad back together.
Oh my God. But it's like these are people living their own lives out there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, guys do that with sports. They live vicariously through their sports heroes, and they go to sports venues with jerseys, very expensive jersey with the name of their favorite player, and they seem to inhabit that personality when they're at baseball games.
Yeah.
So men are guilty.
It's like bands.
Like band.
I don't know.
Is it? Okay, I guess the sports and the music thing is. I feel like it's different because like there's like a. It's like if you were like a diehard Ben Affleck fan and you just love to go see his movies and are like a big fan of Ben Affleck. I think that's like being a sports fan or a music fan. But like being interested in their personal life and like just indulging in the drama.
You know what I don't
is like
get
a little different
about being a fan of a team. It makes no sense because the teams, after 10 years, entirely new people, entirely different makeup.
Sure.
So it's just like my side good, your side bad. It makes no sense. Like it's just like territorial.
What do you say? What do you say that, Steve?
Sports is just highly testosterone driven.
Yeah.
So when you get involved with a team that you ascribe your personality with, that becomes an issue, But I prefer to think of myself as an old sports fan, like baseball fan, because I was discussing that with you, Alex, earlier. I enjoy the strategy aspect of baseball, the small ball that is not currently being used very much. In fact, these baseball players most of them, majority don't know how to bunt, to sacrifice bunt. And that's an integral part of small ball. Sacrifice, fly, double stealing, hit and run.
Well,
that's what I'm interested in.
That's a good point. Yeah, because you said that you don't like the kind of the big star mentality of like the home run hitters
knock it
and
out of the
whatnot.
park every time.
Strike out or home run.
In that case, you're not like even if the star of your team went to a different team, it's not about that person, right? And the coaches are actually probably more consistent over time, right? The coaches, managers, I'm sure every team has their like style of play.
Like the A's are small market, small payroll, and they do play small ball because out of necessity, and they groom their own talent.
Wait,
from the
what
minor
is small ball?
As I said, advancing sacrifice bunting, sacrifice flies to advance base runners
sacrifice
to home.
It's like strategic small plays.
Yeah,
it's like if I feel like the corollary in like NBA would be like the fundamentals.
Okay.
Different, like a zone defense or a different.
So as opposed to like one person trying to always score, it's like making sure you're playing as a team and you're doing the plays right and all that business. Well, this is really weird because we don't talk about sports at all. We
sorry,
never
I
talk
got
about
out of my
tangent.
depth.
like what do we? When I was asking questions,
Might as well be talking about astrophysics.
But,
It's like
see,
I know nothing about
one more
this.
thing about baseball is that it connects me to the child inside of me.
Oh yeah, I can see
Because
that.
I loved baseball growing up.
Yeah.
And I was taught fundamentals in high school, and so it connects me to the child inside of me.
And to get back to what you were saying, I think like the way I've kind of seen and understood sports in general and baseball obviously and stuff like that is that I mean it is a little bit of tribalism for sure, but it always seems like
That's the word.
More of like a cooperative like
I could understand
like
people being a fan
camaraderie
of a
kind of
team
tribalism.
if like the team had the same coach for like 25
Sure.
years or something, because then you're a fan of how the team is put together.
Right.
But like if again, it's like the team members are cycled out every X amount of years. How can you be a fan of a team for 40 years?
But it's also just
the completely different team from start to finish.
Honestly, these days in like the whole digital like world we live in, like how people like rarely are connected to the place they live. Like I feel like it's like a last vestige of like local culture,
But how does that explain being a fan of a team from that's not your?
That's what I don't understand as much especially if you haven't lived there ever.
So maybe I can shed some light. There are core players on the good teams that can afford their payroll, and they retain those core players, the superstars.
Yeah.
And they have auxiliary players to complement them that come and go. But the core players that you can identify with, generally, and there are many that actually retire with the same club that they started with.
That they started with?
Yes.
Wow.
Which I feel like is what you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I do feel like that's something that's different than like
But
And I think of the analogy to the way people describe the way corporations used to be, like big companies used to be, is like they used to like have their headquarters, or they have their factory in a specific city, and they'd be very much a fixture of that city. So they would feel like they want to contribute to, the local community and the local culture, and like help buoy the city.
The antithesis of Detroit.
But what was it? That was their Ford or GM or whoever was there before. Like that was the big part of there. And I feel like
until they were like, fuck you guys, we're going overseas.
But then once nowadays that companies are so big, they almost don't have a hometown anymore, right? So it's like they don't really care about any particular community at all. But when you're a big star on a baseball team, like you have to live in the city that you play in, right? So you probably are more connected to the city you're at, and there is like this connection of like, this person lives where I live, and like they probably care about the city because they live here, right? And it's like part of their culture too.
So in my father's time, he was very attached to a union, and that's was the lifeblood of corporations, to have unionized members who actually had that loyalty to the corporation, because corporation had loyalty to their workers through the unions.
Sure, yeah.
And then of course now the unions have been weakened. I would dare say there's maybe 20% of the work population, labor force, are unionized, if that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's unhealthy for the ecosystem of companies to have a weakened labor force, because it's just like, I feel like that having that kind of loyalty, the positive interaction with the community, it restricts the company from growing too large, which I feel like is where it can be dangerous. I mean, a large company, a large corporation obviously can make more money, but it doesn't really do good. It's not good for the ecosystem. It creates a very unstable, unbalanced situation. Amazon.
They start peeing in bottles.
Yeah. Look, my father's pension was not driven by Wall Street. It was driven by the corporation who contributed to his welfare after he retired.
I feel like pensions are like unheard of in companies these days. And like, I feel like
I really don't know what a pension is. What is that like? If you finish a span of time, you get a bonus?
Yeah, well, it's basically employer retirement fund. So like if you work long enough with the company, they basically pay your retirement.
How many companies even do that now?
Not anymore. Like, because they're trying to get people in, out, or it's just all cogs.
The thing that's replaced the old format of companies contributing to pensions, companies still do, but to a lesser degree. Whereas I will contribute certain monies from my paycheck into my pension, and it will be enhanced by Wall Street,
right?
Through stocks
the
and through bonds.
That's a regular retirement.
That seems pretty volatile.
Yes, it is, and I can adjust it to where it's low stress to a high stress, high risk.
But then you can risk losing all of it.
Well, early on in your employment, you would want higher risk because you're going to work so many years.
Yeah.
But as I approached retirement, the last 3 or 4 years, I went more conservative into a middle risk.
How long have you had it?
I had I had 28 years.
Wow.
Right, so
how long has Wall Street been going
with UVA? Actually, UVA.
I don't even know.
Probably the early
50s?
I bet since the 19th century sometime. I don't know the history of Wall Street at all, but
of course my pension suffered blows because of 9/11, because of the financial meltdown.
Probably 08.
Yep.
Yeah.
So big hits.
Yeah.
Right.
Where my father would not have suffered. His pension would have been steady and guaranteed.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because it was based off the company he works for. Yeah.
Yes.
So you worked for UVA,
University of Virginia.
Okay, yeah. So
Medical Center.
So you do have a pension with them.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Oh, so you can have multiple.
Through Fidelity.
They're a public university?
Yeah, well, state. It's a state university.
Right, yeah.
Because I get a state enhancement pension as well.
Okay, yeah. My dad worked at the local community college, and I think he has some retirement type pension thing, but it's the city.
It's a lower amount.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Is he officially retired?
He is officially retired.
Yeah. What about when do you think your mom will?
Probably another.
She's a bit more
years.
active, and
yeah, she likes to be out, and like she really needs to be part of the. I think I get that from her, like wanting to still be active and part of the community, and she enjoys working with people.
Plus, what's the age? Is there much of an age difference?
My mom she was born in 59, so she's 60. Wait, no, 61.
What about your dad?
62. Hold on. How's math working right now?
Bro, don't even ask me.
62.
69, 79, 89, 09, 19. Wait.
62. I just trust.
Where's the abacus?
89, 99.
We get a calculation
19.
on that.
So that's 50. What the fuck, man? We're going to edit that
fine.
shit out. I look like a
60s.
moron.
How about early 60s?
What's that? 62. So actually, she's not even at retirement age, I guess.
Oh, okay. Jesus. But back in the day, wasn't retirement age like 55?
Yeah, but life expectancy is.
Yeah.
It was
up to- I don't know.
62, I believe. Now it's
65.
66 for full.
Now retirement
Retirement.
is 98.
Well, actually, here's the thing. After 54, I was born in 54, which I'm,
Yeah.
I need an abacus myself. But after 54,
I don't even know how to use an abacus. Sorry.
after 54, get this, they add 2 months for every year after 54 for full retirement.
Really?
So for me, it was 66, but for someone who lived, who was born in 55, it would be 66 and 2 months, and then 2 months thereafter.
The more recently you were born, the older you have to be.
Yes. Which is
At a certain point, it's got a cap, though, right? Because
98.
But the problem is that the funds are dwindling, and that's why they're going up with age for full retirement.
Actually, now when you die, they convert your body into fossil fuel so you can still keep working after you're dead.
There's been a lot of robbing of the funds from from politicians. Yeah.
So what was your first job?
My first job was in a nursing home as a
Wow, you came full circle.
a porter. I swept.
Kind of.
came
Well,
close.
he works in. No, I
Well,
mean with what he does.
you've always worked in
recently.
like healthcare.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
this was when I was
Jesus.
in school.
That's not what I meant.
I always had a part-time job in either a nursing home or a medical center, doing various things. But from a porter to an orderly, which is now a nursing assistant, a patient. The new terminology eludes me, but and then I was a rehab aide at a Staten Island hospital as I was still going to school. So I had a lot of different jobs
Okay.
because I was in and out of different programs at school. So
How old do you think you were with your first job?
18? No, 17.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
17.
Yeah. I think my first job was a taco truck. Lonnie here?
Oh, let's take a quick break then.
Taking a
I'm sure,
break.
I'm sure we can jump back
From
into
Mama
it, but let's,
Fry.
but yeah, let's jump back into it. So you were.
I've been thinking. Sorry to cut this up.
Yep.
I think I've brought this up to you before. I think it would be cool to do fake sponsors, or something like this episode is brought to you by anxiety. Is it easy for you to go to sleep at night? Well, not anymore because anxiety.
You should write those.
Yeah.
It's like, you watch Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
The one episode that Donald Glover actually writes, or
I thought he wrote all of them.
I don't think he wrote all. I think his brother wrote.
Oh.
But or maybe it's the one he directs. Maybe it's the one he
Okay.
directs.
Shit,
Is the like what do you call it? There's like an interview. It's like a kind of like almost like behind the actor's studio type thing where the guy who plays, I forget the name of the rapper.
The
but-
Yoo-Hoo one?
No, they do like a Swisher Sweet ad, and they do like some car ad.
Yeah.
But like it's very like it's kind of a little
So, like,
it's
mock.
much more comedic than the rest of the episodes. I feel
yeah.
like because all the ads are like parodies of them.
Yeah.
But you should write them and we could do it.
Yeah, I think
Because
that'd
that'd
be
be fun. That'd be
It'd
fun to do.
Great
Yeah.
salute to skit comedy.
Yeah.
With the interlude coming
Yeah.
out of the interlude.
That would be pretty fun.
Yeah, it would be fun. And we
If
could have
you- yeah.
imagery to back it up. Like, you know how like John Oliver has like when he does jokes it like brings up an image.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
could just edit the image in and
I could also reach out to my friend and see if he'd be willing to do an animation for one of them.
oh.
I mean, like he would do
Yeah.
a really like crappy one, but I
Crude
think it'd
one.
still be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah.
And Tony, you have
But
a
you'd have to write them.
you
Yeah,
have a
that's okay.
comedic bent, so that would
Slight.
be right up your alley.
He
It would-
says,
it would
he
be
says
fun.
he's like it's typical for musicians to want to be comedians.
Yeah, comedians always say musicians want to be comedians and comedians want to be musicians. Yeah. So,
Have you ever done any stand-up?
no, I think I'm going to do stand up before my 28th birthday.
Do it.
Because a lot of stand-ups say that like the absolute cutoff point for starting comedy, if you want to make it, like anybody can just do it for fun. Right. But like if you want to do career, the like 27 is old.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah. Most people start at like 20.
Wow. Yeah. Sure.
Chappelle at 15.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why he's a legend.
20.
Okay.
21,
Yeah.
Yes.
But Seinfeld said that he was good from the start. And he was like, I don't mean to boast, but he was like,
really?
It was pretty much, I knew this is what I was doing.
I thought he had his growing pains. Oh.
Well, he said at first he was batting 500. He said like, good show, bad show, good show, bad show. Which for most comedians, it's like, bad show, bad show, bad show, bad show, bad show, okay show, bad show, bad show, bad show. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Which is what I'm going to be expecting. But
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's performance. It's such a performance. Yeah. It's rough.
So
it's pursuing your dream.
Yeah. It's.
I think you should do it, dude. I completely support you.
And I also want to try getting on stage. The song I put together for the live, I think that's going to be the first song that I try to learn how to loop it live and play it live. Because I'm gonna have to learn how to actually play the guitar part because it's just a sample, but it's very simple. And I think that'd be fun because I think I told you this. My dad has been playing live shows since he was like 14 or 15, and I've never played a live show.
Wow, yeah.
And my uncle's in a band made like 30 grand in a year once.
Yeah, you tell me that.
Like
Crazy.
just playing as teenagers. And I've never played a fucking live show once, and that's stupid.
You need to do that, especially as a musician. Like, and again, I feel like you always get caught up in like making it perfect.
Yeah.
And like being like ready to just do it like in some real professional manner. And I think it's just so much of art is just doing
just leaning
it
into
without
it.
It's like what David Cho says. It's like just do it.
Yeah.
Like nobody's stopping you.
Yeah.
There's so many avenues.
And there's the only limitations are the ones you impose on yourself.
Because honestly, the thing that the thing that I see that like really is like, why am I not doing more, is like when I see somebody who I'm like is like earlier in their process than I am and like is doing more things, and I'm like, why am I holding myself back? Like there are people out there that like are just starting out, but who are like so much more just like getting it done,
fire under them.
And it's just like, I'm like, man, like I could have been doing it. Like again, like I've been doing this for like 5 years and like now I'm just like waiting for something that's not like nobody's gonna make me do it.
Yeah. And I heard this thing that probably applies to art, but I've been listening to this Mind Pump podcast. It's like a physical fitness podcast, but they said that consistency is always the key for anything. And they said an inconsistent, amazing performance or workout was what they said will always be a consistent, okay performance will always outwork an amazing, inconsistent one. I butchered that, but
totally,
you get the structure is very important.
Yeah. So even if you're imperfect and you're just doing it all the time, you'll get there eventually. But
you have to believe in yourself and overcome all those obstacles that will be in your way.
Yeah.
People or the naysayers or just hard to get a booking because of maybe your prior reputation precedes you. But it's just about your drive. Right? It has to be your drive.
Yeah. And that's what I'm suffering. I had so much drive when I was younger, like infinite drive. Yeah. And now I'm just like
petering.
Well,
I think it's like, again, like it's like life gets in the way so much,
and stress of bills and just everyday crap.
Yeah. Right.
That just builds and builds and builds. Whereas, sometimes it gets to you.
Yeah, when you're young, you don't have much bouncing around in your brain other than what do I want to do today? Right. And the older you get,
think how we start out the young people, which I can say young people now, after graduating from college or universities with tremendous debt. How to overcome that? That's depressing to begin with. Yeah. That has to change.
How much are we putting a dampener on their drive by settling them with $40,000, $100,000?
I think millennials catch a lot of shit for not being super productive, or I don't know what I don't know what the like older generation says about the millennial generation, but like I think there was like some weight put on in expectation, and then later in like just burden of debt and like.
Well, it's also you see those memes where it's like. Back in my day, I had a house by the time I was 28 or something. It's like, yeah, Rebecca, that's when rent was like 28 cents a month.
Right.
It's like, I mean, that's an extreme exaggeration.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
But
it's not only a different economy, it's a different situation, and we were set up differently. I feel like I just kind of got the kind of shit end of it, because it's like there's this promise out there that if you just went to school, everything would be okay.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think that that's true. I think, again,
it can be true.
It can be,
but
right?
Rare for the lucky ones.
Yeah, and it's as much of a lottery as it is
either the lucky ones
like
or the really hardworking ones, like insane work ethic.
Right.
But here's a question. Your parents, I've always been told, well, from like people like Robert Reich. Do you guys know who that guy is?
Yes, sure.
I don't.
Former labor secretary.
For like Clinton, for Bill Clinton.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
He's a super smart guy, but very, very, very liberal. But I like him a lot. But he said back in his day, it could be a single parent income that could buy the house, buy the car, put their kids in school, support everything. But that's what I was going to ask. Were your parents in that kind of situation?
Yes. My mother was a stay-at-home mom until she wanted to actually get out of the household and work for herself.
Yeah.
But not because she had to. My father could support all of us. We rented, but we lived in my grandparents' house.
Yeah.
So it was it was that nuclear family structure way back when households really stayed together.
Yeah.
I knew my grandmother and grandfather intimately because they lived in the same house. They played with me. I lived with them. I knew nothing but having them around, and that was great for my upbringing.
Wow, nice. Family structure. Yeah, it's always interesting for me to think about. So I'm always trying to understand kind of this narrative view of where society and where people are at. And like, obviously I only have my own experience, and like, I don't know if you can shed some light, or obviously even talking with Tony, I get a different perspective, obviously, because you had a different upbringing. But I do feel like there's this tension between the so-called like dream of success and the whole American dream, and then the like your community and the people around you and your family and things like that, of like trying to go off and be successful, but also like somehow honoring family and being nearby. And I think there's a dissonance, and I don't know if, from your perspective, if you saw something like that unravel over time, or I'm obviously just getting a snapshot of it now, but
I think it just evolved that way because people are just more mobile than ever before, and it's been accepted with our culture, without just the way we are right now. It's evolved definitely over time since I am a boomer, definitely a boomer generation, and I can tell you about the stress or sometimes the tension I receive from millennials or even younger people with patients wise. If I'm interacting with them for any purpose, whether it be business or even in the hospital, the younger generation, the millennials and under that I worked with, sort of had less patience with someone my age. And, the rolling of eyes, they wouldn't say anything, but the rolling of the eyes gives you away.
Right here,
was
man.
it? Wait,
definitely. No, the body language.
Yeah.
So crucial. I mean, you can interpret people's motives.
Was it just with the like amount of time it took to do something, or like the way you would phrase things,
and not really appreciate my experience level?
Yeah.
That I could add to the situation that was arising, and even doctors. Definitely,
young
my
doctors.
interaction with doctors, because they know it all, and the younger doctors, the interns, the residents. When I had valid reasons for not to do a certain patient modality, that it would not help, and it might actually, in the long run, not benefit the patient, they didn't want to hear it. Yeah. And so I would have to go around them and actually not do a modality.
In their sleep.
Because it was not beneficial or it could actually harm the patient.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then if I had got into a confrontation, I'm always wrong.
Yeah.
Right, they have the authority. Yeah.
They have the
in that
upper hand.
situation. Yeah.
Also, they have Google on their side. I mean,
Everybody's got Google on their side.
But you know
Google's
what?
on everybody's side, didn't
No,
you know?
but it's like a lot of people I feel like our age feel like they know everything because they can just be like quick Google search and be like, you're wrong.
Right.
You know?
Here's the interesting thing, though. I had much more positive interactions with female residents, female doctors. They were more bent to listen to me and my experience level, and actually listen and not just dismiss me. And now the medical profession is fairly 50-50 as to male and female.
Which is different than in the
Yes,
past.
much different.
Okay.
It was so lopsided.
Ever since
it was
the
so
broad
male
started
oriented.
working.
It was so male oriented, like anything else, very male oriented.
Yeah.
But now it's quite a balance.
Well, yeah, definitely what I hear you saying is that probably, I would guess, that media and technology has affected the way younger people think and their... I mean,
Definitely.
I bet there is always an authority struggle between younger and older.
I had it with my
professional
parents.
people.
Yeah, most definitely.
Young people think they know what it's like now and thinking old knowledge is outdated. But especially the patience thing you're talking about, not having as much patience with other people, I think is definitely probably
Just listening and lending credibility to what I have to offer.
Right. Or even just, I mean, I would say maybe across the spectrum of age these days, there's less of a regard for a like specific authority because there's so many authority figures and like people with opinions out there, right? So it's like, oh, I don't have to listen to you because I disagree with your opinion. So I have a different authority figure that tells me something else.
So
right?
are you
Like,
bringing in social media into the problem?
That's
having?
what I'm hearing, but also I think that's something that's said a lot about our generation, and who was the first digital generation. I mean, we grew up when the internet was really raging. So I think we have a little bit of like what it was like before, because we saw things like YouTube and Facebook and stuff start, which is different than Gen Z. And Gen Z is like, they just grew up with
I'm
that.
so grateful for the internet and like just YouTube. Like we wouldn't have podcasts without all this stuff, but there was a beautiful simplicity to life before the internet.
Most definitely. I can remember not growing up with computers, and so it was just an adjunct to my life. It is not the end all or be all.
Yeah.
It is not my life. So I enjoy reading a book and not a Kindle, and I certainly make that distinction. I need the visceral feeling of a book in my hands.
Plus, you're probably not like every second. Any second that I'm bored, it's Instagram.
Nope.
Pull that up or put on a podcast.
Right.
Or listen.
But that's called an addiction.
Straight up.
Yes.
It's an addiction.
Yeah.
It's like impulse, like compulsive. It's like
Yes.
I have to do this.
Right.
And I don't have that.
Yeah.
That is totally
But
alien in
that's-
my DNA.
But it's interesting because probably most people our age, unless you have serious self-control, have fallen into that trap. Probably not you so much.
And it's normalized though. It's very
Yeah,
normal
yeah,
for that
yeah.
to be the case. Like, even hanging with people or anything, even if you're hanging with people you're enjoying the company with, there's a lull or there's anything. It's just like,
the slightest lull.
I feel that tug for sure all the time. And
but it's like somebody was, I think it was a comedian or something, but like let yourself fucking be bored for a little bit. Like what is that doing to your psyche, having to always be entertained by some form of media?
How's this? I'm certainly now getting deeper and deeper involved with my own meditation, with my own connection with myself. And that is so important to me. And being connected to the universe. And I had that to a degree when I was younger. Because I had met a very important person in my life,
Who introduced
Phyllis,
you to mushrooms.
who was who taught me meditation and relaxation techniques as part of my therapy for various things I was going through when I was younger.
I think it might have been Sam Harris's wife. Somebody is teaching like 5-year-olds meditation.
Oh yeah, I think honestly working with kids these days, like that's like not uncommon in school to teach mindfulness and things like that.
Mindfulness, that's what
which I think is great.
But that's such an underutilized tool, like to be able to center yourself and feel your emotions in any given moment. And
Actually,
as a little
love
kid.
yourself.
And
allow that, and not in a very self-centered way, but in a very universal way.
Accepting way,
Which grounds me tremendously.
I do feel like that's what figures like Mr. Rogers was doing.
Oh man,
this like kind of like love, like everybody's valid, accepting, and I think it got demonized for some people as like this like coddling type like thing, where I feel like it's hard to.
He did a very great job of like lowering your RPMs, like slowing you down,
right,
and just be here. This is what we're doing. Taking off our shoes, singing a little song.
Even transitions to different skits during the show was very premeditated, very slow, meandering.
Well, it was very counter to, I think what he saw was like the rise of cartoons and like kids shows and things like that. He wanted something that was alternative, and it did touch a chord for a lot of things. But I mean, it was something that was carried by public broadcasting, and it was something that I think we as a society saw a value in, that we like put effort into, and then it really did connect with kids, but it was spread by people seeing a value in it. Whereas I feel like with media now, it's like there is nobody being like, what would be good for people. It's like what will make money, or what will get popular. Yeah, Clementine and I talk all the time about
ratings.
How a big part of capitalism is manufacturing needs as much as it is manufacturing items.
How can
or
we
products.
get these people hooked?
How can we get people to want what we have?
Like
for no reason except that we can sell it to them.
We're a consumer-based society. Where we buy,
right,
and not manufacture.
And again, that's not a bad thing generally speaking. Like, because obviously people want things, and they I don't know, it's kind of all distractions. But I think the dangerous thing with the technology stuff, like we were just talking about, is like these are companies that are not vying for you to buy things of theirs. They're trying to take time from you. They're trying to take up all your time.
Well, it's like
so you stop living.
Almost like Pavlovian, like notifications, like what can like. Bling, hey, pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me.
And don't you think there's subliminal messages in our commercials?
Well, I mean, beyond that, there's so many manipulation tactics. There's so many manipulation tactics.
Buy this product over another, over our competitors.
Sure.
Are you smoking yet?
Almost.
But you know, has a similar vibe to Mr. Rogers as Bob Ross.
Yeah,
very good at slowing you down.
Again, I think someone else who was on PBS at the time or something like that.
PBS, definitely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally PBS. Yes, because his show would not survive anywhere else.
Yeah, I feel like we need more people like Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross, chilling us out.
Like they're out there.
Did Fred Rogers precede Sesame Street? He was there before Sesame Street?
Yeah, definitely.
Sesame
Because
Street's pretty old.
Well, Sesame Street was like Jim Henson, who was like big in the 80s, right?
The original Sesame Street, they just get like
dead
70s.
Birds and
frogs.
We're talking about early 70s.
You got it.
Yes.
Sesame Street, I missed
I don't know the beginning.
I feel like Mr. Rogers was like 60s, if not earlier.
70s, early 70s.
And
I don't know about the
I don't know. My
60s.
sister was into Mr. Rogers.
If Liam, our production assistant, wasn't so fucking lazy, we'd be able to look this up.
We get some information, but
well, we can Google it. You know,
Google it. You know what? One of the kids said to me I worked with that I've been really throwing around in my brain is I was talking with him about something and then I was like, he had a question. And I was like, I don't know. Like, let me look it up real quick. And he's like, wow, you're such an adult looking up everything. And I was like, is that an adult thing to do?
For me, it's an like obsessive compulsive kind of thing that I have to. If somebody asks me a question or I'm just thinking of something I don't know, I have to immediately look it up just so I know the definitive answer.
But it's interesting that a kid would feel like that's not an instinct. That's not an instinct for them. I feel like it's such an instinct for me, at least. I don't know,
their kid will probably just have a chip in their brain and be like.
So my Google when I was growing up was the library. It was the Encyclopedia Britannica. It was the dictionary.
Yeah.
I remember reading the dictionary because I was so entertained by words and word origins.
That was a punishment for me.
Reading the dictionary?
Yeah.
For real? So you're being serious?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah. My stepmom, if you've messed up something,
that's like making reading a punishment. It's like, what kind of... what does that instill in you?
But there's a difference between reading a book you're interested in and just reading definitions of words. Like
the Greek and root origins of words enthralled by it.
Yeah.
And enhancing my vocabulary.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. That's There is something magical though to go into a library, chilling out, looking at books.
For sure.
It is nice. It's been a bummer that it's been closed for pandemics.
I know. I'm pretty stoked to take Ira to the library when.
Yeah.
we get
That's a
older.
very fun memory as
Reading?
a kid.
Me too. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom used to take me to the library all the time. And
Yeah.
just spend Saturday
They
there or
have
something.
great children's story reading.
Yeah, but they choose some pretty dark ones.
Who?
You two.
Oh, we did. Yeah, you read The Fate of Fausto.
Yeah.
Did you like that one?
That
The
was,
motherfucker just dies at the end.
It's a fable.
but for a good reason.
I was just
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about. I actually just read that to Ira today again because you read it yesterday.
It's a
so I
good
really
moral.
need to- It's. I think it's
Yeah.
really good. I don't know. It kind of like jars you a little bit. Definitely when we first read it too, it was kind of a little jarring. But it's like
Clearly, nobody read that to Jeff Bezos because that
Right,
is
exactly.
straight up him.
Sure.
And maybe one day he'll die in his fucking rocket ship.
I think there's a lot of allegories to a lot of different things. Yeah, business and just our like hold over the earth and
Yeah.
climate change stuff too. But
Yeah, like climate change denies. Like it's not existing because we don't want it to exist. It's not profitable for us
Sure.
to acknowledge it or do anything about
well,
it.
I think it's this interesting mix of hubris and like this acceptance that we are insignificant in a way. Because it's like there's no way we could be doing anything to the earth. But
I
also
don't even
like
think
we're
that's
so
really
important.
the biggest issue. I would say, and I could definitely be wrong about this, but I think most people agree it's an issue. But I think the people who actually are in power and have the ability to make the change, it's a very small percentage of people who have most of the hold on the world's resources.
the Senate, the
Yeah.
Congress,
Well, and
Or
like
businesses.
oil companies, and I was listening to a podcast the other day.
We're doing the-
politicians
they're
who
doing
are owned
Yes,
by
yes.
lobbyists who
Yeah.
are owned by
Companies,
big
or-
corporations,
yeah, corporations,
huge,
Yeah.
gigantic.
But I heard I was listening to a podcast that said one thing that nobody really thinks about is that the U.S. military is actually the worst player in terms of climate change. Like they outdo all the companies combined,
Right.
which is something nobody says anything about.
Wow.
Like
Well, we just consider them a necessary evil,
I
or
was-
necessary whatever. We, I don't know.
yeah,
People-
definitely an
considers it
evil.
Evil.
But one of their giant ships, which is constantly running, uses as much as 14 million cars in a year.
Wow.
Which is like, that's one of their ships. Like,
Yeah.
fucking crazy. That's so much. So, yeah, I don't know. I think most people on both sides of the left-right spectrum can agree that we are kind of fucking up the planet. But I don't think most people have any control over how we go about.
Right.
fixing
Yeah.
things.
I don't think there aren't really levers.
Yeah.
I mean, the only lever is like lawmaking or even international law. You know, things like the Paris Accord. you know,
But
law.
I'm also not concerned. And that sounds kind of jarring. But I also think that it's like with if you have an invention, any iteration of an invention, the first iterations are going to be the worst ones. And so I think of like the Industrial Revolution and like coal and all these things, brand new technology to us. It's the worst version. It's the most polluting. And then we're naturally transitioning, whether people like it or not, to solar, to Tesla cars, electric cars, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it'll clean itself up, not out of force because, we need to save the planet, but more because solar power is infinite. Electric cars way more convenient than gas power. I think it'll level itself out.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. I think that first place, the argument that's happening right now is that there is a tipping point where we
can't go back.
Where we can't go back, and we create an inhabitable Earth, right? And I honestly like if the Earth will go on with or without us.
Yeah.
So there's that, right?
It will regenerate after
Sure, it'll us. It's whatever happens in the next stage of life will happen whether or not we're here. But I think I agree with you in some ways in that like this is part of the process.
Yeah.
And like in some ways there's a little bit of solace in that, but I think also you have to accept that the only way that like things will change
Put
and get
some
better
intention
is
behind
because
it.
people are
Yeah.
doing things, right?
Yeah.
So as much as like it's just a natural occurrence that like we have the activists and the people who fight against it and all that
Yeah.
stuff, is you need those players in place, and people need to be those players. If there wasn't an Elon Musk or if there wasn't a Greta Thunberg, like then there wouldn't be attention and there wouldn't be movement.
The planet is giving us warnings by the extreme weather changes we're seeing before our eyes. In my lifetime, this is a drastic change. The weather, the climate, the extreme weather, hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires. to tsunamis in certain areas of the world. We are seeing it from because of the climate change, and the planet is getting too hot, and it can't sustain all of us.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
For what we're doing to it.
But also, I'm going to be dead in a little bit, so.
I thought you were going to
But you will see changes in your lifetime that will be jarring.
I thought you were going to go to Mars, Tony.
Yeah, that too.
You're going to see changes in your life as you get older that will be more jarring than what I've been experiencing.
Yeah. Well, we're also, isn't this summer the hottest in history in Spokane?
I think we broke a bunch of records, for sure. I think this early, it hasn't been this hot before. Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. I think I'm optimistic in this sense. I think things will work themselves out. Yeah. But it does remind me of the kind of like metaphor in movies, how you're saying there always need to be actors on the side of good. Right. Because it's like in movies, like in Harry Potter, like we think we killed the bad guy, he comes back in the next movie. Think we killed him again, and like he inhabits some other version. And I think that's just a metaphor for like evil is always there. And you always need somebody to combat it. And it's a battle that will never stop.
Sure. But I think the realizing that the bad takeaway is to disengage and be like, it's going to happen no matter what.
But then evil will overtake.
Right. So like you need to, if you see the progress toward cleaner energy and cleaning up the world and help keeping it stable. I'm not even saying one way or the other, just keeping it stable, at least for us to live on. I mean, again, like there are some people who don't care so much about that, but like, if that's what you think is good or a good trend, then you're placing value in saying you're on a certain side. And if you're on a certain side saying that's a good thing, then you should be supporting better, moves by the
more
human
progressive
race. For sure.
Initiatives. Yes.
That's why I don't get how anybody could be against Elon, that saint of a man.
Saint of a man.
That beautiful human being that we are lucky enough to be graced
with. The multi-billionaire that he inhabits with all the other multi-billionaires.
But see, what would you rather have? Somebody who is enacting immense positive change who is wealthy, or would you rather him be like Nikola Tesla who advanced human society forward so much and died penniless and broke in his apartment alone? Like, I mean, what would you rather have? Is it necessarily a bad thing that Elon's a wealthy man?
And not paying his fair share of taxes.
Okay, but would you consider creating a secondary home for the human race? Sharing taxes?
Tony's argument is that he's done good for mankind as a whole, regardless of his...
For the elite...
No, but even
this country.
Think about his advancement in clean energy with cars, and he's developed solar panels.
But how many people can afford those cars?
More than ever.
But it will get more.
The upper tier, and we're talking about extreme upper tier.
No, but the most affordable Tesla car is as affordable as any other new car on the market.
They're not in mass production.
They are, though.
Are they?
If you want a Tesla car, you can buy one.
I've seen one in Charlottesville.
I see like a bunch just around town.
I do think Elon will go down in history as an innovator, an inventor, and someone who...
And a meme master.
And sure. I mean, I don't know if that's what people write in the history books, but like, I think the fact that he's rich will just be a point of biography as opposed to like his action in history.
And plus, would you rather...
Because he makes moves not based on money, but based on what he thinks he wants to do.
Yeah,
right.
And what he thinks will better humanity.
Yeah, and again, like we shouldn't trust any one person to better humanity, right?
Yeah. But we should be grateful. I mean, look at fucking solar panel. He created electronic transition of currency, basically. He created PayPal. Mm-hmm. He created electric cars, solar panels that look like regular roof panels. He's basically single-handedly creating a second home for the human race. What more do you want from the guy?
That's not a realistic option.
What,
Space. No, it's not.
Come on, don't
this
get
is
me
the planet
started, Steve.
This is the planet that we inhabit, and this is the only home that we have.
I think having a backup.
We've talked this before. If we can't take care of this one, what makes us think
we should not
do the next one
divest our focus or our energies to space, we should focus it here on Earth.
But many benefits come from studying and advancing space technologies.
I think the technology for technology's sake is great, but then there's the application for the broader.
But there's a whole quote that Neil deGrasse Tyson likes to throw out, which is like the budget for NASA is like the smallest fraction of a penny, but the return on that is exponential. How much in terms of what it returns to the economy and the advancements that it makes. So I don't see any problem with going to space. And again, what would you rather have?
We can have both space, energy, and exploration, and a much reduced Pentagon budget.
Oh. I think we can all agree on that.
I don't know if everybody can agree on that.
Well, I mean, at this table.
Yeah, yes. I think we can all agree on that.
And still be safe.
Yeah.
And secure in our homes.
Yeah.
No, I think it's very possible.
Yeah.
Not to just like kibosh that conversation, but before we get too far in anything like that, I think I'm interested in continuing the track, and just for my own knowledge of hearing more about your kind of journey in life. From when you're born in New York to now when you're here visiting us coming from Virginia. But you were saying that you were with your family until you were 22. So you lived in Staten Island till you were 22.
We moved back and forth from outside of Boston.
That's right.
Back to Staten Island.
Okay.
So we were a little transient, but not for a long period of time. When his contract expired, and we came back, and then he after 40 years, retired from A&P. 40 years.
Yeah.
With a secure pension. That was
40
never,
years at one job?
Yes. That was never rated, and his pension was never rated at all. Never fluctuated. It just grew.
And he cashed out.
Yes.
They didn't try to fuck him out of it at the end. Because that's a common trend,
That's
too.
not how it used to work, I feel like.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I just know in like cheesy police movies where he's like, I got to get out of here, man. I'm 6 months away from my pension. I can't lose it now.
Well, that's good for drama. But I'm sure that has happened to countless people.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Getting screwed out of, which is bullshit. Because, like, let's
more
say
so than ever
if
now.
you're at a job for 40 years and at the last second they're like, sorry.
Right. Yeah.
But I can't imagine doing anything for 40 years.
But I think that's another generational thing.
That is a generational thing. Yeah.
I feel like a generation now. Well, also, there's no company that's stable enough to like really be, because like, I don't know, the companies that are out there these days, like they're all on them. Their value is based on the stock market, right? So there's not really inherently any value. There's just perspective value in a lot of it. So, and none of the work is, I feel like, really, again, gratifying or connecting you to life in any way. If anything, it's alienating you from life.
And so where did you say he worked again for 40 years?
28 years with UVA Medical Center. My father, sorry. A&P, which is a supermarket chain that was huge. It was equivalent to Kroger of today. Have you heard Kroger? Because that may be very regional as well.
Over here, I think it's called, it was
Safeway.
Kroger. Yeah, Safeway.
Well, Safeway.
Kroger. And
something similar.
Yeah.
But they have Safeways on the East Coast, though, right?
No, not in where I live. Not in the southeast.
I worked at a Key Food when I was in Staten Island, which I had never heard
Key
of.
Foods, yeah.
Is that a chain?
I don't. Do you know if it's a chain? No, it's probably just some. Well, I got paid $7 an hour, so.
Wow.
That's another thing. Isn't New York the lowest minimum wage in the country?
Well, believe it or not.
I thought Idaho was.
But believe it or not.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Get this. When I was working at this, it was a very prestigious nursing home. This was a class above the normal nursing home. It was clean. You didn't smell urine. The residents were well taken care of. So the administrator, Mr. Demisay, made sure that he paid his employees to keep a very reliant and secure workforce that was loyal to him and the patients.
Yeah. Right.
And I was making $7.50 an hour back in the early in
your first job paid more than my job 10 years ago.
In 74, 73.
Wow. 74.
And do you remember insane. what the minimum wage was back then?
Have no idea, but it was a lot.
Had to be a few dollars, probably.
Yeah, probably like $3 something.
Whatever. Yeah, $2.50. Who knows?
Yeah.
But he ensured a loyal and productive workforce.
Yeah.
And he was loved to show that to his employees. And we got little perks like part-timers, we get a 15-pound turkey on every holiday.
Oh, wow.
Full-timers, we get 30-pound.
How big was this company again?
It was just a very small market nursing home on Staten Island.
Okay.
It was not affiliated. It was not a franchise. It was a personal. It was a private concern.
I could not see that turkey situation going down. They'd be like, it's a liability. Sorry.
Yeah.
I do feel like there's still some of that alive in smaller businesses these days, but I think that by and large, companies treat people as machines, as just cogs of like, if you don't take this job, then somebody else will come and take the job. I don't need to do anything to keep you around because
it's like we talked with Amazon. You get fired by an app.
Oh,
like
sure.
yeah, that's like
or they don't
so
even, or you
far
barely have a contract at all.
Get this: the administrator was hands-on. He had his office, and he went to work at his at the nursing home, and he had his sister was the head of nursing.
Oh, well, nice. Yeah.
And so they ran a tight ship, but
and they probably cared about everything.
Well,
a lot more.
I'm just
they
imagining,
care about the bottom line.
Yeah.
What's that? Happy Gilmore. And his mom's in a nursing home. Like, he yells at me when you're not around. He's like, shut up, grandma.
But it was not heavy-handed with his approach to his employees. So it was a wonderful work environment.
That's great.
That I can sort of judge with all others that I've worked with.
Then why did you leave that?
Well, I graduated from college.
Oh, okay.
And
where did you go to college?
Actually, College of Staten Island.
Oh, okay.
Small.
And here's another question: how much was college at that time for you?
When I started, this, it was almost free tuition. I only had to pay a $100 fee per semester. But then it as I changed curriculums and programs, it ended.
Okay.
So the second year of my college experience, it stopped. But my cousin, who was 3 years older than me, had free tuition for his whole 4 years.
Whoa. University?
College. No, it was Richmond
city,
College, which was the adjunct to College of Staten Island. College of Staten Island was 2 years, and Richmond was the final 2 years.
So much like a city college or community college type thing. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you graduated, and then you moved to New York City proper?
No, I stayed on Staten Island, and I did a lot of different jobs, bouncing around. Until I came upon, I came back to a hospital setting. That was Staten Island Hospital as a rehab aide, because I wanted to go into to physical therapy, and so I went back to school, and I never did graduate as I was in the program, but I just mustered out. Because I was into fun times, good times, and that was my focus, unfortunately. And,
a little bit of weed, some marijuana. Is that what you mean?
A lot of different, dabble into a lot of areas of mind-altering products, but I enjoyed my stay there, and I met mentors who helped me get into school. Now, this is I love unions for many reasons, but I went to school to NYU, New York University, for the respiratory therapy program. and I was totally tuition free. Scholarship. I earned a scholarship through the union, $11.99, and I didn't pay. And they paid for. I had my own residence at the time.
Through the union with your work?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that was a benefit still to this day from $11.99 in New York. It's a very solid union. Is still there. In fact, I'm getting a pension from $11.99 for my years of service to different hospitals. Even as a respiratory therapist, I had a $11.99 hospital. But getting back to that, I total free tuition. They paid for my books, and they paid for my rent. I was paid $200 every 2 weeks.
Wait, on top of
free tuition.
Just for
with the 200 was for the rent or for your
for my
expenses
for living expenses.
Wow, that's crazy.
Fuck.
So I love the unions for that. They gave me my career.
Versus today, which we were talking about, like if you die, you're whoever goes after you, they hold on to your debt. They got to pay your debt now. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck?
No debt. So I never
debt.
realized how lucky I was that I graduated from a very prestigious
NYU
university school.
Whoa. And I wonder what the tuition costs
Yes.
now.
Oh,
But I took it for granted.
Probably in-state, I bet it's like 50,000, 60,000.
Easy.
A year?
That would be a semester. Tony, that would be a semester.
No.
In New York.
Oof.
50
NYU
grand,
is a pretty prestigious school.
And that I didn't inherit a student debt.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like even student debt back then was maybe not as bad as it is now. But I was literally advised in high school by my advisor. He just said to me, because I was like worried about student debt when I was going to college. He was like, that's just what people have. He was like, I'm still paying off my student debt. That's just kind of how it is. And it was worth it. I don't know. That was kind of the vibe I got. And it was just like...
Who is this?
Mystery Barra. I love Mystery Barra. He was great. He kind of he calmed my fears about it, but like...
So
it was very... But
he made you drink the Kool-Aid,
I think the idea was just that like it's the path to go if you want an education. Like if you want an education, like student debt is part of it. It's very much like...
I'm okay. Thank you.
Right. No, I know. And I'm honestly, I'm jealous of a lot of my peers who don't have that burden, who are living very similar lives to what I'm living. And I feel my life is very fulfilling to me. Yeah. Right. I don't feel like I'm successful in any of the metrics that you might say people are successful, but I feel very fulfilling and like I have a rich life that I really enjoy. And going to school was great. I got out and like experienced the world and met people, and I'm very happy with where I am. But now I just have this burden, this rock on my back for sure.
Not even just financially, but mentally, what that does. It's like I owe some random person $30,000 for
not even it's just like and then my debt gets sold and traded around. So I've had a couple different debt companies that I owe the money to, and it's just it's just weird. It's a little weird.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say
while you're here and you're on here? As a boomer. Yeah, which is vastly different from everyone else. At this table.
Yeah. No.
How do you feel like our society is doing these days? Seeing folks, and do you feel I feel like everybody's having this moment of like it's just all this is the worst it's ever been. Like the country is literally like about to collapse, and it's never been this bad before.
Most definitely, we're moving towards an authoritative regime that is being embraced by 40% of the population, which is astounding to me. That is what is astounding and fearful to me.
Yeah. But this is different than any other...
where democracy is being challenged, but at its core. That scares the shit out of me.
There's nothing in the past that's like, oh, this was just as bad as when, I don't know, Reagan or Nixon or somebody else.
No, this is 100 times worse than Nixon or any...
Please say something that'll let me sleep at night.
I don't know. I think there's always a crisis going on. This is the
amped up. This is on steroids. This is fear mongering on steroids that has captured people like sheep
Yeah.
being herded to, and also by social media, Facebook,
Right.
Twitter.
I do feel like technology has made it much worse. And again, like we were talking about before.
But also,
just is ignited.
social
Right.
media
The
is also
flame.
putting it in your face so much more.
Right. We again talking about like it's trying to get all your time and attention. Like their algorithms work to like enhance
the negative.
engagement, which means a negative engagement.
And
you
it's
know, like-
created the outliers who were living under rocks. They have banded together and made this incredible political bloc.
Right, which is crazy. Well, so not to end on a terrible note. I just wanted a little perspective for myself and everything else, and let you get whatever you wanted to say out. But thanks for coming on.
Oh,
And
I enjoyed
it's been
it.
fun hanging out this week.
Wish you had more time.
Yeah, we could go on and on. Of course.
I did stammer a lot, but
Oh, you good. That was great.
It's
and
always
lose
good.
my
It's always good.
train of thought.
But thanks to everybody who may or may not be watching,
Yeah.
and even if you're not watching, thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming on again, Tony, and thanks for being here, Alex, and Steve.
Thanks.
Thank you to me.
And cue music.
Yeah.
That was fun.